From the version of the Bible that I just read from, the translators take verse 12 to say, the talk of fools self-destructs. Your Bible might translate that line as, a fool's lips are his undoing. Now, these are nicely cleaned up English versions for easy reading for people like you and me. But the Hebrew text literally reads, the fool's lips will devour him. So I feel like cannibalism is a harsh metaphor for destruction, but that's how serious this connection between gossip and the meaning of life is. So for you and I, when we observe people whose actions take us back, or when we're trying to figure out if someone is good or bad, or when we're not quite sure that our friends, what they're up to, but we have very strong opinions about what they're up to, and we're very willing to share those opinions, even if nobody is asking, that right there is the danger zone. When we diminish people and their lives to cold, stark categories like right and wrong, black and white, in or out, we devour ourselves. But not only that, we also insult whatever work is currently in progress by God's Spirit in the life of the person that you're looking down your nose at. Are you okay with no answers? Are you? Am I? Whether it's about God or other people or life, as Christians, we must recognize that we don't live in a black and white, either or kind of a world. Opposing, paradoxical things are both happening at the exact same time, meaning that someone's life could be imploding, and that's exactly what God needs to get in there. Or perhaps someone is genuinely trying to live life in the way of Jesus, and at the same time is making terrible life decisions. Is it possible that these two things could be happening at the exact same time? Of course. I once complained actually to my spiritual director that I didn't know where God was leading me in a particular situation in my life where next steps were once very easy and clear for me. And after hearing this, she looked me straight in the eyes, and then she says this. You ready for this? She says, good. Maybe now you'll have to live by faith for once. You don't know how pregnancy works. You don't know how God works. What do you know? You don't know what your work will accomplish, and it's not your job to know. And that for me is the gem in this passage. Because as Christians, our end goal is not guarantees or success or even productivity. As followers of Jesus, our goal isn't to get stuff done. The goal, instead, is to be obedient to whatever it is that God is drawing you towards. And if you don't have all the answers, and if you can only hope that things will work out, then in the words of my spiritual director, good. Maybe now you'll finally have to live by faith for once. So maybe the hard question for us here is this. Are you able to be obedient to God, even if that obedience does not produce your intended results? I'll be honest with you here. I've been working on that one for about 25 years now. But be encouraged, my friends. It is okay to say, I don't know. It is okay to not have a perfect plan. It is even okay if your efforts result in failure. Because again, for the follower of Jesus, the goal is not to succeed, but to be obedient to God, especially with those things that we don't fully understand. Yeah, it's hard, right? But I think it's also a relief. Or we could even see it as a gift. Because when you can't fully comprehend or control something, it puts you into a position where you're finally ready, finally open to being surprised. I like my life buttoned up and screwed down tight. I like things neat and in order. And I want there to be a rational reason behind everything that I do. Everything clearly defined and in its place. Which is great when you're organizing a closet, but it's terrible when you want to create that fertile ground in your soul for God to speak and lead and make himself known. And that has squarely been on my mind as I set out on this 3-month sabbatical. I have done everything that I can do to prepare. I've had many conversations, I've made arrangements, the books I want to read are neatly stacked on my desk and ready to go. And that's as far as I can take it. And now I'm ready to be surprised. I'm ready to be surprised by something that I can't control or I can't screw down tight. I'm ready for God to do something that I can't plan for or arrange or coordinate. I am ready for something that is so beyond me. I'm ready to be surprised. And I really, really want to be. And I hope and pray the same thing for you.
What do we do when we have to hold tension that doesn't resolve or live with questions that don't have answers? Well, first off, I would say that we need to recognize this as part of the human condition. This territory is part of the journey of life. Even though the writer of Ecclesiastes wasn't living through a pandemic, he was well aware of how reality can create feelings of meaninglessness or hopelessness when it doesn't fit into a neat and tidy little box. He knew that life was full of tension and that sometimes there's just no use in trying to make a straight line out of the curves and spirals that the road of life takes us on. So the scriptures make room for questions, the scriptures make room for tensions, but how do we do this in our own lives? How do we live in tension and not rush to resolution or hopelessness when resolution can't be found? This week, I listened to a podcast with Parker Palmer. He's a Quaker writer who has had several bouts with deep depression, and he shared the story that when he was in the midst of one of these bouts, a friend came every day to rub his feet, and it was really the only thing that reached into the darkness and met him in the middle of that darkness. It was the thing that kept him tethered to reality. It reminded me of a time when my family was going through a very difficult season, and one of my sons and I would sit and watch The Lord of the Rings every night while I would rub his feet. We were living through a time of questions with no resolution. It was a time that we had to journey through, but that simple way of connecting was a way that we lived through the tension and a way that we put one foot in front of the other. So, if you are living with tension in your home right now because there's a situation that can't be resolved, maybe a question you could ask yourself is, whose feet can I rub, or how can I connect with the people who are living in the middle of the questions with me right now? Side note, connecting with the people with whom you are in close quarters might require you getting away from them for a little while, and that's okay too. Maybe you're feeling tension with your partner or your children right now that just can't seem to be resolved. Your spouse is in your space all the time, your kids are always there and need to be wrangled constantly, or maybe there's a topic or an issue that just keeps coming up that you can't seem to convince or control your way out of, and you're just not sure everything is going to be okay. Instead of making your connection with others dependent or contingent on the resolution of whatever thing it is that you're experiencing tension in, find ways to connect that aren't about bringing resolution. Set aside intentional time to rub the feet of those you love.